We here, y'all.
Let me put the topic here.
Yeah, in the meantime, we'll put the topic. Media is the new MASSA. Coming, Sheba. No welfare supporters, more conscious of the way we raise our daughters. Days are shorter, nights are colder. Feeling like life is over. These snakes strike like a cobra. The world's hot, my son got knocked. Evidently, it's elementary. They want us all gone eventually. Trooping out of state for a plate. Knowledge, the cocoa roll without the garbage. We don't have the top college. Imagine everybody flashing, fashion. Hey, 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 What's up? What is going on, girl?
Things are good. Sun is shining. It's another beautiful Saturday.
It's a gorgeous day.
It is a beautiful, beautiful day. And this is going to be an interesting topic that I'm going to leave a lot of it to you ladies because you're so involved in media. And you know a little bit more about the ins and outs of how media work, because I think that's going to be important for people to understand in terms of the fact that there's a media manipulation, right? And I think we all recognize it, but the reality is, you know, big news sells. And therefore, sometimes the most outrageous news story will make the news, where something that could actually change lives doesn't necessarily make page 1, it makes page 36.
Right.
So, you know, Telly, again, great title. The media is the new MASSA. So I think it's interesting. So it's going to be an interesting topic. I think most of everyone knows who we are, but we'll quickly, in alphabetical order, introduce ourselves again if you're watching us for the first time.
So hi, my name is Garcia, and I am a mindset coach, and I also am a serial entrepreneur. I run several businesses under the Her Castle Girls brand with my sister Telly, who you're going to meet in like 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
Hi everyone. My name is Chantal. My preferred name is Telly. Yes, I work along with my sister. I am also a serial entrepreneur, and I also am a health and wellness advocate. I don't want to take up too much time, so I'm going to hand it right over to my sister, Miss Sheba.
Hi, I am Toshiba. I am, due to COVID, I'd like to say that I'm self-employed, but COVID has made you unemployed. So,
girl,
but
you are employed. You are an author.
But I am the author of a series of books called the Sienna series on Amazon. I clearly co-host this wonderful show with my sister friends here. And I also am an independent consulting. I run my own consulting company called Billings Consulting. So today's topic, media is the new MASSA, or MASSA, was inspired by Telly. We were having a conversation really about cultural appropriation and how it's interesting how when the media puts a spin on things, how all of a sudden the masses come and think that that thing is the new thing. So we had started talking about the Kardashians and how everything they do, all of a sudden the media holds on to it and started calling, you know, braids Kardashian braids, for instance, which is absurd. That in, you know, the 2000s, the 2010s, I think they started calling it a couple of years ago Kardashian braids, when Black women have been doing this for generations and centuries. So I know, Garcia, I'm going to start with you because I know you studied media, and you guys both have your blog, and you have a real understanding of media. So for those of the audience who don't kind of understand media, I'd love you to kind of give them a little spiel.
Sure. So just a quick rundown as to the experience that I've experienced. So I've worked in publishing and I've worked in broadcast TV media. So that's where I'm coming from. And to be honest with you, a lot of times people are like, well, when did you start noticing that there was an issue? And to be honest with you, and if one of our regulars was on right now, She could be here to back me. She's not here, but Miss Dion Warren, who is also in the film business, knows this very much so. So I'll start with this. So our movies, the things that we watch, when the film casting agents are looking to, you know, add background actors to a film, they're looking to make it look as real as possible. You would think that the call sheet would say, okay, we need 100 people. Right. So 50 of those people need to be white. 30 of those people need to be Black, and then the rest can be Asian, or, you know, the rest can be East Indian, or, you know, we can split that 50 people into groups of whatever. But the truth is that, and I hate to admit it, but the truth is that for every 100 white background actors on a film, they will maybe hire 5 Blacks. Maybe. And they will sprinkle 2 Blacks amongst like 50 white people. It's way in the back. The term is, oh, there's too much Black. And if they're shooting something, the director will literally stop shooting and say, can we move the Black girl just more over? And when he says over, that usually means out of the shot. Out of the frame. Out of the frame of the shot, so you don't see her. So when we watch our Lifetime movies, our, you know, Valentine's Day, you know, drama, rom-coms, really take a look at how many other, you know, races you see in these movies. They've made it that way. It's not by accident. Black people want to be in films just as much as everybody else, but we are not given the chance to be because there's just too much color. And to me, that kind of gives, the thing is that, you know, racism is a very old time thinking thing. You know, we know this. Like, racism has been here since the beginning of time. But the issue is that the media and everything attached to it is what keeps on reminding people that white supremacy rules. We can't have why can't we have, you know, just now we're beginning, because the world has collectively now has a conscience that racism is wrong. But 10 years ago, could you find a rom-com on Lifetime starring a Black woman? Oh, no. Absolutely not. No. Could you find like a Black man in love? And then, like, we're only going to start seeing a Black male bachelor, I think, maybe next year season? Or something, whatever it is. And we just had one Black woman as a bachelorette, you know, like a 2 or 3 seasons ago. And it was a huge deal because that show has been on for so long. And they never thought that Black people need love too. Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, even when you look at, like, especially in the 90s, you remember the films back then, they either starred, you know, Will Smith or Denzel Washington or, like, Wesley Snipes. Mm-hmm. And that was about it. There were other male Black actors, but those 3 were the ones that would get most work. God bless how many Black women you would even see in films, much more the 3 Black men. We've both been on different sets where, actually, it's funny, even before COVID hit, we were both on, you were on a set, we were on the same set, but 2 different days. The day that I went, I was the only Black person on set as an extra. Everyone else, there was no Asian, there was no East Indian even to be in the back, just me as a minority. Everyone else was white. Yeah, because even the crew was white. Yeah, that's what they want. And on that same show, it was funny. So I was playing a hotel concierge. I was you know, the person booking people into a hotel on that film. And it was so strange that day because, you know, there was another Black female there for which I was excited. And she's someone that we've known for years, actually. She's an entertainer, and she was there playing a cop. and she was supposed to be a cop coming in to interview me about a crime that had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because both of us were on set, and she was like, wow, you know, this is a non-union production when two Black girls are in a scene.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, this is the first time I've ever been in a scene where it's just the two of us and it's another Black girl. They
Right.
never have two Black girls on screen together.
No.
And, you know, if you all think that, you know, okay, not your typical girl talk, girls are crazy, I beg you to go watch a film that is not a Black niche film.
Right.
Go and see and watch the patterns. And what makes it really scary to me is that, as a mindset coach, films are meant to put us in a trance.
Right.
It's like a slight hypnosis.
Right.
So we are watching this film and it's registering in the back of our head that this is what real life is.
Right.
And if real life is majority, you know, white girl Brittany looking for Bob, the man, to fall in love with her, and maybe one of her token friends is like this one Black girl that just shows up as a nerd,
Right.
and, you know, has coffee and spills
Right.
the coffee all over the place, and then cut, she's no longer in the movie.
Right.
That is how people start to see their real life. So media is actually instilling that racism by not having, you know, shows like, and thank God for shows like, you know, Scandal. How to get away with murder, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, Oprah's productions, Tyler Perry's productions, you know, like without all of these sort of productions, we would never see Black people in a positive, normal light. Because, you know, it's like this conversation I had with one actor once where I was like, why can't we just have a film where it's like a Black woman,
Right,
and she just has kids and she's just a mom with kids?
there's
Like, why does
right.
it always have to be a Black person that has kids? I'm like, are we not people? Like, when are we going to be seen in film as just normal, which is what we are, normal people? Because again, media makes us look like, oh, they can only be thugs, they can only be prostitutes, they can only be drug pushers, you know, Black AF, we always bring it up, did a very good example of, you know, a Black family going on a private jet, and the first thing the flight attendant thought was,
drug dealer.
Is he a drug dealer?
Because he has tattoos.
Because there's no way a man with tattoos can have a legit job who is Black. So, you know, that's where I'm coming from. And again, is it anyone specific that's pushing it? Maybe. But the thing is, these people own the media. They own the production companies. They own the sponsors that create all these productions. So there's that. And then, of course, the world of influence. I mean, Kim Kardashian, I don't think, I'm going to be straight up honest, I don't think she woke up one day and said, I'm going to, you know, exactly take over and have Black things named after me. I don't think that was her full-on intention.
Well,
but the issue is she does, and this has been her for a long time. If you've been watching her for a long time, she loves Black.
she loves the culture.
She loves the culture hardcore. Her first magazine cover was a Black men's magazine for cars.
Right.
Because she loved to buy the cars in the hip hop videos, you know, the Range Rovers,
right.
the G6s, and all of these cars that are highly associated with Black culture. Always loved Black men. You know, in high school, that was her thing. She, when she did.
Her first husband was Black.
Yeah, exactly. When she was
her second and third.
Yeah.
Exactly. When she, you know, was in high school, she always shares the story of when she told her mom that she was like, look, I don't want to marry an Armenian man. I don't want to marry, you know, a white man. I love Black men. And that's what I want for me. So this is something she's always been into. Fine. Preference is preference. But the thing is that she loves to take up the culture. Like many people. I'm not going to sit here and say Kim Kardashian. I have a lot of white girlfriends that love the big earring, the knockers, you know, the Brooklyn knocker earrings, the whole like culture of Black culture. I don't blame them. It's the coolest culture in the world. Being Black is awesome. I'm so happy that we get to live this experience. As much as there's oppression, we're cool. We invented cool.
Thank you.
So people want a piece of it, but the problem is when we aren't, you know, we're not attributed to creating it, which is a big thing. But what sucks even more is when the media steps in and decides we have the power to say that this shade of Black is too Black.
Yep.
Those braids look really cool on Kim Kardashian, so we're gonna call them Kardashian braids.
Yep. Even the Bo Derek, like remember that movie? Like that's
Yeah.
where the whole thing began.
Right.
Black people, we've been doing cornrows for donkey years. Like it's we're known for doing cornrows.
Because we couldn't wash our hair.
We couldn't wash our hair. And we'd even use cornrows to transport seeds to plant cotton in the first place. But that's another story. The fact that you see a nice, white, blonde, young girl running across the beach in cornrows. And the first thing, as soon as that movie came out, the first thing the media talks about is, oh, the Bo Derek braids. And it's like, wait a minute, Bo Derek, what?
Yeah, because the media loves to attribute things
braids
to, you know.
And the dry part too is, you know, when we do our thing, when we wear our hair units, when we wear our braids, when we wear our cornrows, it's considered trashy. But
Unprofessional.
Girl.
Is what it's considered. If you Google professional hairstyles for women and unprofessional, like my hairstyle right now, and yours would be considered part of the unprofessional. Garcia's would be fine because it looks, you know, like a European standard.
Yeah,
but the idea that, you know, even Googling professional and unprofessional hairstyles, but they show it on Black women, right?
Yes.
But for a, you know, and I put that in the promo video this week in terms of the fact that it's great on the Kardashians, any of the Kardashians, but a Black woman was fired from her job because she showed up in braids and not straight hair anymore because it was deemed unprofessional. When culturally, this is how our hair is. This is a cultural thing for us.
Right.
It's not a style. And I think the other great thing we put in the, you know, in the promo video was the fact that, you know, if you don't understand cultural appropriation is you working on an assignment, okay, and getting an F, someone taking that very same assignment and getting an A+.
That's it.
Right? That is cultural appropriation. So for people to look at me and think, oh my God, she shouldn't show up with a job interview like that. She better go change and put on hair like Garcia for her to be taken seriously. But if Kim Kardashian shows up in a magazine with these crochet braids that I have, oh my God, the new trending braids, crochet braids, like the Kardashians have made it amazing. And I think we have to be very careful. And I know right now we're talking about media in terms of entertainment, but I think people need to be very careful about what they consume because CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, City TV, CTV, all of them are responsible for how we view the world.
Absolutely.
The media is the reason why your workplace would say that braids are inappropriate for a workspace. The media is the one thing that connects us all. Like you said, Toshiba, you mentioned CNN, Fox News, all these global news stations. They are the ones that spread news, whether it's entertainment, whether it's daily news, political news, whatever it is. And they do have a responsibility to make sure that people are shown in a correct light. When I was working with a magazine, I would go visit the photo editing people and I would watch them edit photos for the covers of magazines. These are big fashion magazines. And you would be surprised. First of all, you know, if this was a different show, I would talk about how they manipulate every single thing. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, yellow, red.
They change it.
They change everything. They change everyone's complexion. They change everyone's face. They spend hours perfecting people. So whatever you see on magazines, it's not real. It's an image. It's called technically an image. They don't even call it a picture. They say the image because they know they've manipulated the hell out of it.
Right.
And they go in and they change, like if it's a Black girl, she's going to be 2 shades lighter by the time they're done. She's going to have cheekbones. You know, she had like a round face like mine. You know, I'm Jamaican heritage. So like, you know, cheekbones, high cheeks and stuff. They would put a nice hollow right here so it looks like I'm contoured. They will do all these things because, again, they're trying to reach that standard of beauty, what media says is beautiful. The one thing that I do appreciate with now, and maybe it will get better, is that we are now, like, this new generation is telling the media what they want. That's it. Saying, look, that woman is not realistic. That's it. I'm a size 14, and I'm actually happy being a size 14.
Exactly so.
You can't tell me that I need to be a size 4 if I don't want to be. And that's the one great thing with this new generation. They are not sitting down and taking it the way how we all used to. And the thing is that, again, like with media, even the idea of, and it's, I don't know, as a girl that, you know, I wear wigs, and I always, you know, ask myself, it's like, you know, I know that wigs are even a part of our culture in a way, you know,
it is.
You know, it's something that we all love to do. It's something that we all love to play with. But you know, what I dislike is when people, you know, as soon as we have conversations like this, people want to come in and say, oh, well, why are you wearing a wig like this? Why does your hair have to be that length? I'm like, well, why are you a redhead when I know very well that you're a brunette?
Exactly.
Like, you know, it's the same sort of thing where it's like, listen, like, if people could understand where they are coming from, whether you're white or Black, where are you coming from? What was happening in your past as to why things are the way it is? When we wanted to rebel as Black people in the 60s and 70s, we threw away, you know, the straighteners, we threw away wigs, and we just did our fros. And we were like, this is who we are. This is what you're dealing with. You know, like, take that, white supremacy. Here we are. And it was a beautiful movement. It was a beautiful thing. But as we've said on this show before, you know, being Black, we're taking that power back now. And we're saying, look, media, we have our own versions of Black. And our versions of Black, in the same way how our shades are different, so is our beauty. You know, some of us are going to do braids and you got to accept it. Some of us are going to do wigs and you got to accept it. Some of us are going to go au naturel and we're going to do beautiful curls, natural curls, and you've got to live with it. Or we're going to shave our heads, or we're going to go to the barber and we're going to do this. We're going to, you know, pull a Grace Jones. We're going to do whatever, but we're going to do what we're going to do because it has nothing to do with the information and the skills that we have in our head. And this is now the time to really show people what Black looks like, because again, the media has done such a good job at brainwashing us to believe that this is
that's the standard of beauty.
Yeah, that's the standard of beauty.
It's funny you mentioned that too, because even when you watch just even commercials, you'll see a white family for, like, I don't know, Canadian Tire or something, or McDonald's or Tim Hortons, and so it's, you know, a nice white family. And there, my lashes falling. And they,
mine just barely holding on.
Doing this all the time, it's because my lash is just not behaving itself. It's gonna fall off regardless. But anyway, as I was saying, not to change the subject, but I was saying it's funny, you know, you'll watch these commercials, and it kind of hurts because as a Black person, it's like, well, wait a minute, is it if only families that are white can have a mom and a dad? Like, I can't because I'm Black. Like, you know, they represent white families all the time in commercials, and they're gone to Marineland hand in hand. And have you seen the Sandals vacation commercials?
Yes, they're all white families.
Usually a hot white couple with a 6-pack and like they're, you know, curvilicious, and then the maid and the butler are Black people, and they're serving them there. And I'm here watching the commercial, and I'm like, what the? Am I the only person that sees something wrong with this?
And you know,
is always just sticking. You know, we're trying our hardest to level up, and the media, as being the MASSA, is just constantly Yeah,
it's,
and then,
it's one of those things where, you know, it's kind of like they're trying to put you in your place. Let's not forget
Right.
that this is where you're supposed to be. And what's interesting about what you said, Garcia, and it's, you know, and I know this argument comes up all the time when, you know, as a Black woman, especially because Black women hairstyles are the ones that are generally copied, where people will come and to deflect the argument, they say, well, you guys straighten your hair and you guys wear weaves and you guys do whatever. The difference between a Black woman deciding to do something different with her hair, we don't claim that it's ours, right? You don't claim that this is ours.
Exactly
You
so.
give credit.
You just
Thank
wear
you.
it.
Right? We don't claim that something is ours. The difference is when the media decides that they're going to take claim of someone else's culture and attribute it to white people, right? And attribute it, you know, and I thought there was something interesting that happened. I don't remember if it was earlier this year or late last year, but there was, you know, this whole thing about, you know, boy bands back in the day. And I think it was Donnie from New Kids on the Block. They had made all these lists, and he had to stop a conversation and say, we were influenced by New Edition, right? Like, you guys are giving us a whole bunch of credit. Thank you so very much. But our influence was a Black boy group, right? And you guys are discounting the boy group that influenced us. And I just thought it was an amazing moment because he had to stop them and go almost like, did you do your research? And it was such a profound moment.
Right. Thank you. And that's the thing. It's the media has made it like, oh, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, New Kids on the Block. They're a new thing. We have never seen 5 boys on a stage sing and dance before. The media instills those thoughts when all of those boys from NSYNC and all Backstreet Boys and whatever, all of these boy bands, all the K-pop bands, they come back and say, yeah, if it wasn't for New Edition and Jackson 5, we would have
Temptation tour before that.
K-pop bands. They know their history. They know where it's coming from, but the media doesn't want to hear that from Backstreet Boys. Then they don't want to hear that from NSYNC. They just, the media thinks it's easier to say that Justin Timberlake is here simply based on the fact that he's just talented. And it's like, no, Justin Timberlake is a production of Black talent coming together and fostering and teaching him how to be the dancer and the singer that he is.
Yeah, he had Black choreographers, Fatima. He had Timbaland. The only reason why that album even came out good was because Timbaland was the one that pretty much did everything.
And he was influenced by Usher.
Usher, which once again was swept under the rug.
And Michael Jackson, right?
Like, Leslie and I watched a special on Justin Bieber, and they had a whole layout of just that Justin Bieber's photo, and then they had a picture of Michael Jackson and a picture of
they built a strategy for Justin Bieber based on Michael Jackson, because you know Michael Jackson was also a child.
He grew
into
big pop star,
and he was able to do it in a way where he didn't really lose track, because usually at around 16, 17 these guys lose track. They wanted the same for Justin Bieber, so they literally strategized how they were going to take this young white boy and mimic, model the exact career path that Michael Jackson had went through to create success. This is why I was very, 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 very aware of watching what some of these pop stars decided to do when everything went down with George Floyd, the protests, because I was like, listen, Britney Spears, if I don't see you say bloody nothing about it, I've got problems with you.
Because we
Janet
all know
Jackson
Janet
is the
inspired
reason
your
why
backside.
you are here. Britney would not be here
without
if it was not for Janet Jackson. That is
Hands
the
down.
truth. And no one can tell me nothing else.
Christina Aguilera would not be there without Whitney Houston. Hands down. Hands down.
And so I think it's interesting when we consume media and we take the information as truth and the whole truth without doing some background. And I'm not speaking to conspiracy theorists. That's not what I'm speaking to, because as we've seen, COVID has brought out a number of conspiracy theorists.
Yep.
I will give it to people who have some conspiracy theory that they're not taking the information that they're being given just so, as Jamaicans would say, right? They're not just taking it at face value. They're really interested in digging more. When I read something on Facebook or Instagram or so forth, I will actually go and Google it somewhere, try to read several articles, go on a news station, try to do something before I go and I try to forward it or share it or put it somewhere, because I'm like, I don't necessarily know, especially when it just sounds or reads wonky. You know, certain things that like,
sound right.
It doesn't sound right, right?
Like,
so I'm gonna go and I'm going to do some research. Now, I recognize that in doing research, I'm still having to go to those same media outlets that potentially have put out this fake information, but now they have sites like snoops.com where they will actually tell you something is fake or real. You know, there's fact checkers, there's all of these different things. And I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that we're not allowing the media to dictate how we think, solely how we think, right? COVID is a thing, right? However you want to feel about COVID, real, fake, whatever, when you were consumed, like for months, we were just consumed with COVID news. I think a lot of people have taken a step back and they're like, listen, we get it. It's serious. People are dying. Let me take a step back. But I want to say from March to the end of April, I think a lot of us were just consumed with it. We watched CNN, the ticker was going up. And there's so much information to unpack, right? When you're getting full of information, you actually have to decipher which of this information do I actually need, right? And how much of this information I'm going to consume, and how much of this information am I going to believe? Because you know, Carcy, you said it best. It's even with a call sheet, right? Like, let's be serious. The media has a whole strategy, right? Somewhere in a room, people sit down and every day they look at demographics. Each media outlet has a target demographic. We are not part of Fox's news target demographic, and therefore they're not going to put out news stories that essentially put us in a great light. That is Fox News. We're not part of their target demographic. CNN, we are part of their target demographic. And so therefore, the spin that they're going to put on their news is going to make us feel good by watching it, right? So good, bad, or indifferent, the reality is we are somebody's target demographic. News, like any other business, is marketing, right? You sit down in a room and you break down target demographics and you take a look at who's watching your show, what their income level is, what their education level is. You know, you get all of this information, you pull this information together, and for ratings and for whatever sponsorship and whatever reasons, you are going to put out news stories or shows or whatever that feeds to that target demographic, because they are your bread and butter, right? Fox News, their bread and butter are these little pundits, like, you know, for Black people with, you know, our friend Candace Owens there, who that's who they're targeting. They're not targeting you and I. And so therefore, going on Fox News, if we were to sit for an hour watching Fox News, you'd be infuriated. Because the things they say are
absolutely.
Because that's not your mindset, right? Your mindset isn't such. So we, you know, I'm saying all this to say we have to be careful in terms of what we consume, how much we consume it, and actually be able to decipher, right? And I'm not simply talking about just because you don't think that this is real, that means that the polar opposite has to be the truth. Right? You know, there's a saying that says, you know, when someone tells you a story, there's their side, your side, and somewhere in the middle, there's the truth, right? I think what we have to do as responsible consumers of information is that we actually have to be able to say, okay, so I understand that there's going to be a bit of truth in everything that I'm hearing, right? Like, if you think, you know, Fauci is the most amazing man compared to somebody saying Dr. Fauci is literally the devil and he's going to poison us and kill us, right? So, right? So there, if there isn't, he's not amazing, but he's not also the devil. What's the middle ground?
There's a truth.
Right?
Yeah,
COVID
exactly.
is going to kill us, and where the economy is going to go to shit, or COVID is fake, and this is just a way for people to control the population. Somewhere in there, there's actual
a bit of truth. Yep.
Right? And you need to decipher it, because, you know, the media is being used to constantly divide us. The media is being used to determine how we see the world, what lens we see the world through, right?
Yep.
So if all you see are the white families who are hand in hand going off to Marineland or on vacation, running on the beach, living your best life, and you don't have any other frame of reference, you're thinking this is the way the world is, or this is the way North America is, or this is the way Africa is, or this is the way the Caribbean is, because these are the images that we see.
That's it.
And it's so interesting how the media, when we look at for those who are watching right now, clearly we're a little bit older. I remember Saturday morning when you had a set time that you were watching TV.
Girl,
yes. Set shows and set cartoons. It wasn't a full day of shows all the time. There was set TV time on Saturday. Now it's a 24/7 reel of constant information. I remember having to go do research at the library using the encyclopedia, knowing that not that the information in the encyclopedia was completely right, but it had to go through so many rounds of edits before it was there.
Exactly. You had to get up from your table, walk over, pick up 3 huge 50-pound
books,
encyclopedias, and study and read
and
that.
Flip through it and try to find
flip through it. There was no Control F to put in a word and then have something pop up. Like, you had to search. And a part of the problem here is that, this is why we do on Instagram have white girls that are doing their makeup to look darker, because they're literally sitting on the internet all day saying, I wish I could look like, I wish I could look like, I wish I could look like. And that whole thing about blackface doesn't register in their heads. And they're like, it's totally fine that I make my skin about 4 shades darker. That's fine.
No, it's not.
And I'm going to start my influencer career, and I'm going to look like a black girl. And heaven forbid I get thrown into a pool and everyone sees actually that
you're
I
a white
am
girl
a
all this
Caucasian girl
time
from Idaho. Like, the media is constantly, like you were saying, Toshiba, it's constantly throwing things at us. And we're not sitting here watching the Flintstones and Sesame Street like we were all doing when we were, like under the age of 10 years old. They are now seeing things where, there's constantly, this is what this means. And if whatever looks like this is right, and whatever looks like this is wrong without any context. But it's a part of this mindset game that they're playing with us. It's a part of that slight hypnosis that I spoke about earlier, where, one of the terms in hypnosis is generalizing and saying all Black people are bad. That is a reference that you could actually use, and that speaks to your unconscious mind. It registers in there. And it's like, okay, all Black people are bad. And you don't know where the information came from.
No. Well, that's
just
racism.
like you said, right? No, we have no idea where this information came from, but it came from CNN, it came from Fox, it came from, CP24 in Toronto. So if they said it, it must be true. People in Brampton don't know how to drive. It's true. Right?
Because
it registered as true because they keep on saying, here's another accident in Brampton, everybody. Here's another shooting at church and thing.
That's true.
And you're like, oh, okay, it's violent there then.
Yep.
And this is how, again, the media is constantly feeding us information without any context or any proof. So when we see weird things, like the other day someone sent me this thing and I told them, dude, this is fake. And it was a thing where it was on Christopher Columbus and his notes to the president of his country saying, oh, we discovered these dark people on this, and we have decided that the only way to take over is to steal their joy by taking them away from their environment so they will be weakened, and then we can make them slaves. And as you know, as true as that felt, I was like, I need to research this. And I did a research, and that note wasn't bloody true.
No.
There is no such note. But people saw something that they could agree with, so they're spreading it
That's
around.
it.
Like,
Because
it's
they
true.
agreed to it. That's it.
Here's the thing, you know, and sorry to cut you, Telly, that reaffirms your belief about something, right?
Exactly
So
so.
if you believe that, you know what, living in downtown Toronto at this intersection is really bad and I would never live there, every time a news article or breaking news on CP24 comes up and it's in and around that intersection, like, see, that's why I don't live there, right?
That's
or
it.
yes, Christopher Columbus, we all know he didn't discover nothing. You can't discover things that people are on. So, right? So, but that information reaffirms our belief that he's a terrible person. And until you decide, like you did, and I do, and I know you do, Telly, where we go and say, okay, let's go do a little bit more digging, because on the surface, it seems okay, but in 14 whatever or 13 whatever, do you think that was there pen and paper for him to, how did he transcribe this on a piece of paper?
How did they even know
How
that?
would he have found it?
I was like, this word, this is not how this man, who was a Spaniard, was speaking in 14 whatever.
I highly doubt it.
He was not writing and talking.
I highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. But it's what you're saying, because, you know, I mean, that's why they canceled Live PD and what's the show, Cops, because all it did was constantly show Black people getting arrested. And then you walk into a store and we're wondering, well, why are you always looking at me? And why are the store clerks following me up? Because they're constantly being thrown in their face. Oh, well, Black is bad because I watch Cops and I see them getting arrested and I see them cheating money, so I'm going to watch you.
You look like that one girl they arrested last week.
Girl, you know it.
You know what's so funny that you talk about Cops? Because their theme song, Bad Boys, what you gonna do? You know, I changed it years ago to Black Boys, what you gonna do? Because I was like, all you're showing are Black men. So clearly that is your show. Your show is about running after Black men who are bad. So really what you're saying is Black boys, what you gonna do? Like, so again, it's the reaffirmation of people's belief, and the more you consume and the more you see and the more, you know, if you're a staunch KKK person, the more you see those images of Black men or Black women or Jews or gays or whoever you don't like, because I don't know who they don't like from who they don't like. If you don't like white Anglo-Saxons, I don't even know what that even means, but like, so it keeps reaffirming these images. And so if you only watch Fox News or you only watch CNN, or they're going to reaffirm your beliefs. Absolutely. And they're going to play to what your beliefs is. And you know, these forwards that people do all the time, and I don't even bother. I have to be honest, like the forward ends with me because I'm not watching it unless you're giving me some kind of context. I'm a context person. Anytime I forward you guys something, I'll give you some context, right? I want you to take a look at this because this may be interesting and blah blah blah. I'm not just going to forward something, because that says to me, you actually haven't taken the time to take a look at the information, decipher it yourself, and give me an opinion as to why I should take the 5 minutes out of my life and consume it, right? Because we have to use our brains to be able to find out, why is this information being shared? Why now? Especially when they're digging up things from 1980 whatever, and it's becoming relevant now. You're like, why? Because what it does is it reaffirms this message and this narrative that they want you to believe.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
We can even look at it from, let's go back to the Me Too movement, right?
Right.
And if you didn't mind sharp,
well,
you
go ahead.
would not trust any male at all. When this was all going on, Netflix's top 3 films were all movies like Ted Bundy, the You series, and some other like crazy, you know, white guy that had a mental issue. And if you didn't mind sharp, you would have said,
want to go near
I'm never going to go near any man. I'm not going on no date, because it turns out that all men are rapists. That is what was coming out of the media. Is that true? No. Whenever a news station is going to talk about COVID, I notice they have music. And the music usually sounds like do 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 do.
Like you're going to die.
Spooky, scary music.
They are trying to scare you
Don't
before
scare
the
you.
news even starts. And to me, that just goes to show us again, the media is trying
They're
to
powerful, man.
spread.
They're powerful.
Spread a thought, and the
They're
thought is
powerful.
COVID is so dangerous, guys. You're all going to die.
Yet,
Like,
they're
that's
opening
what
up
it's
everything.
doing. Well, yeah, because remember, the media
I mean, it also controls money.
knows how to keep us watching, and the government knows how to keep us spending.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Thank
you know, greed is a thing.
Greed is the thing.
And
They control
you
that
know,
too. Like,
They will continue to open things up regardless of the numbers because, you know,
They don't
they
care.
need to make their cash. So,
And I'm good. Since you brought up the Me Too movement, right? Like, very unpopular opinion, but I'm gonna. That movement was, in my opinion, a piece of ratchet shit.
it was very,
It scared every single man, and it propelled women to see things that may not have actually existed, number one,
right.
and also not to acknowledge their part in something that has happened.
Right.
Okay? And I listen, rape is a true thing.
that's crime.
Oh,
There
absolutely. Absolutely.
men, rape is not about sex, so it's not about what if I was walking down the street in this
Right.
dress in a
No,
dark
it's a
alley.
violent crime.
Rape
Yeah.
is a violent crime that is about power.
Yeah.
It is about controlling someone with power.
Yeah.
So, with that definition, what the Me Too movement, in my opinion, did is it took that definition and it, for somebody like Matt Lauer,
Mm-hmm.
whether you believe it or not, I don't have an opinion on it. I wasn't there.
Right.
But what I will say is it turned a sexual advance,
Mm-hmm.
potentially, because a man had power towards a woman who didn't have power, and it made it all of a sudden this big thing. There may not have been a sexual act, right? Because
Yeah.
you holding somebody holding you down or drugging you or
Yeah,
whatever
that's
may
a-
have happened
yeah,
to
that's-
make
girl,
that's
they
a
had
different-
sex with you is very different than someone using their power to try to get you in bed or made a sexual advance.
Right.
If you had made a conscious decision that sleeping with Matt Lauer or going into his office extra early and and basic instincting his ass, okay, because
Yeah.
you doing a full Sharon Stone, okay,
Yeah.
because that might get you further ahead. That, ladies and gentlemen, is not rape.
No.
Okay, that is someone using their power. It happens
Yeah.
every day. But it is not,
Every
so the
single day.
Me Too movement mixed up, in my opinion, actual sexual assault of women being raped by men, which means that they were sexually,
Or attacked.
whether fondled or otherwise, or penetrated, a sexual act happened that they did not consent to.
Right.
That is rape, versus sexual advances that didn't necessarily go your own way. So now you're saying that the Russell Simmons and Matt Lauers and whomever ended up making it on that list, they made a sexual advance against me. I didn't feel comfortable about it. It's now been 15 years. Oh yeah, I can be a part of this movement. It became very dangerous.
Too true.
Yeah,
Too true.
so I fully agree, because what bothered me about that whole movement was
Mhm.
that, you know, men who, I'll be honest, you know, in life, when a guy would say, Cursia, I love your hair, or Curse, you look so cute today, or, you know, hey, hun, I'll be honest, this has never offended me.
It's never
A
bothered
man
me.
calling me hun or saying you look nice today has never offended me. I don't find it offensive, because
He didn't call you the
at the
N-word,
same
so it's all
time,
good.
I look at him and say, oh, I love your tie. Oh, hey, hun, how are you? I do that all the time in passing. So am I sexually assaulting him?
I guess so.
Because at the same time, we're asking for equality,
Right.
right? So if I can
Well,
call him honey,
Right.
am I going to go to jail too?
I guess so, because you're sexually assaulting him by calling him honey.
And you said something that was so, because to me, the Me Too movement and the feminist movement did one of these. They
Yeah.
joined
Which-
together.
It
Yeah.
shouldn't, because
Because-
the outcomes are different.
Two different outcomes.
right? So, the idea of feminism, of wanting equality and equity, came to the I'm a strong, independent woman, I don't need no man, whatever narrative, because I don't even bother following, because to me, feminism is not for Black women. And any Black women who want to show themselves, it ain't for us, right? Like, just not a movement for us. No, thank you. You can keep your feminism. However, that's what ended up happening. It was empowering women to use their voice in the wrong way. To me, you deciding that you want to use a powerful man to get ahead in your career and not getting it after you basically him.
He raped
you
me.
can't
Like that, the whole Bill Cosby thing. Some of these women allegedly, they got something happen, but then a lot of these women said, yeah, Bill Cosby raped me. And then they go on vacation with them. The same man that you said raped you. And then you're fine with him raping you because you went on vacation with them. And then years pass, and then you want to say during the Me Too movement, well, he touched me.
So put him in jail.
So now you got to put him in jail. But wait a minute, though, he raped you, and you didn't do anything. You went on a date with him again. You went on vacation with him. And now because of the Me Too movement, you feel now you feel compelled. Stop paying. Thank you. Stop paying you now. So now you feel compelled. You feel compelled to say.
So that, but that's what the media does. The media allowed that movement to get convoluted. And the issue that I had, and I'm gonna tell you, my main issue with the Me Too movement is women who were actually being sexually assaulted, actually being raped, their voices got lost, right? Their voices got lost.
We heard
because now everyone's like, okay, well, everybody feels like they're getting raped, right? Like, if people were walking around, men were walking around in pills and needles, women who were actually sexually assaulted didn't want to say anything because, it's hard enough to report a rape. Exactly. Now you've got the media and all of these things, these hashtags and people pushing these narratives. Yeah. And somebody was actually raped and sexually assaulted felt like I don't want, because am I going to be believed? Because now I've got all these other voices that are drowning out my voice because the media ran on this platform.
They went to the mountains with this. Yeah. It was like a trailblazer. Yeah.
And the thing is, the media loved to, highlight these major stories of more so public figures. And when it came time to court, they would be showing it. And then, the person who is the alleged victim, they say, you know what, I don't remember. I don't remember. And the media keeps on showing these clips and they're like, oh, look, she's lying. So that means that most of these women are lying. So then people that have really truly been victimized, they're like, I am tired of being victimized, so I'm just going to sit here in my silence. So who did the Me Too movement actually help?
Nobody.
I'm still waiting to find out because it you get re-victimized, right? Like, I couldn't imagine.
The media is so good at it.
Thank you. So the media re-victimize you, then you go in court and you're re-victimized, and then your name's public. It's just, you're constantly becoming a victim. And I think that, I know that the Me Too movement had good intentions, and the Black woman, there was Black women who started the Me Too movement, and then white women took it over.
Knew because she was Black.
Right? White women took it over and ran with it when they were coming about Harvey Weinstein and everybody else. But the reality is, it was to bring attention to the fact that disproportionately Black women who are sexually assaulted are not taken seriously. And the R. Kelly documentary and all these other things came out of it. But that's really what it is. But the voices in the media and all of these things that got thrown, the whole message, like, I don't, to this day, as a woman, I'm like, what was the actual message? What was the result of it? Yes, Harvey Weinstein, great. Like, he's, been found guilty, he's in jail, but there are men who are now being falsely accused who are losing their careers because this message of what is rape versus sexual assault versus sexual harassment, sexual circulated, it all became one convoluted message.
Just messing up humans.
And men can't feel okay and free with their platonic relationships. Guys that I have as friends, now, during that time especially, they were like, Percy, I can't lie. It's just really almost uncomfortable to be hanging out with you girls, and just chilling, because I'm afraid I'm going to say something that comes across, because apparently saying
hun.
this or doing that or whatever. And I'm like, dude, you'll never have to worry about me, because I know you're not coming from a place of attacking or violence.
Right.
Like, some people have, because the media, they've taken it and they've put in a spin on it that I don't even think the Me Too movement wanted. I really don't. I actually think the media is the inventor of the overhype of things like the Me Too movement, like how Black people are shown in media, you know, like everything that they do when it's time to show good news about Black people, they don't have time for that, but they definitely have time to show the negative, bad things about Black people. And no one is doing stories about these kids that are getting accepted into University of Toronto on scholarships. No one is showing, hey, you know, this Black person actually has a scholarship, you know, Drake or The Weeknd. They've just donated, you know, $5 million to this university. Where are those stories?
They're not
like,
going to be shown.
Why are we not breaking the news for that?
Even when you, like, you know, when you Google NBC, ABC, CBC, look at the people that are in charge of it.
Yeah,
they're mostly old white men. They don't care if Black people are going to.
They don't care for the diversity.
They care less. What they care about when it comes to Black people is to constantly keep us down. That's what they care about.
And what their sponsors are going to pay for. And that's
nothing to do. They want our money.
That's something we have to remember is that media is also sponsored, right? Like, there are people who pay the money so they can still be on the air, right? There are every news station has a specific sponsor that gets their 30-second or 20-second or whatever second clips. And again, it's about pushing a message. We're not clearly not saying media is bad. You have to get information from somewhere.
Yeah.
But please be careful about the information you consume and then taking that information and using it as a Bible truth. Because, you know, getting to even the Bible, we talked about it in episode 3 or 4, the fact that the Bible itself was used in a way to keep slaves down, because they had the slave Bible and they took out any information out of that Bible that said, talked about rebellion or being free. They only kept things in the Bible that they read to or gave to the slaves that talked about worshiping your master, right? This is why we called it, Tully named it, Media is the New Massa, because it's the same thing. They're not going to give you the full story. The slaves weren't given the full Bible. We're not being given the full story. So they're going to redact and simmer it down and get all the spices right and saying, okay, we'll give them enough of the truth, but still put our spin on it.
That's it. They want to withhold.
Yeah, because as I always say, I'm like, listen, if you were to sit down and watch the news 24/7, 24/7, 24/7, and took that in as truth, you would think that, again, all Black people are thugs. All Black people do is shoot other people. And
COVID is going to kill you.
COVID is going to kill you. And
don't go to Brampton.
All white people cannot be trusted. Like, these are the things that if you don't pay attention, you think that this is exactly how the world looks. And if you get out into the real world and take a look around, you'll say, okay,
not everything is
that's
bad.
only 20% of the reality of
that's it.
this world, of the situation.
Exactly.
Perfect. Now, I'm conscious of the time.
3 seconds left.
Okay, good. So we'll do our takeaways. Go, Garcia.
Okay. So I'm going to say that I want to say, yes, definitely make sure that whatever you take in, you really evaluate it, make sure it's true, and don't be afraid to be your own researcher. Don't be afraid to read and learn for yourself.
I agree with you. You know, if you're on a diet, the last thing you want to do is eat everything and everything. You watch what you eat. If you watch what you eat, you should also watch what you're consuming when you're watching all these shows and listening to media. Really double check things before you just take it as Bible.
Awesome. And I'm going to say the world is mathematically good, right? Like, mathematically, the world is good. But again, you're not going to get necessarily all those good parts. So just like my lady said, you have to be careful about what you consume and deciding what information you're going to share and what information you're going to hold as Bible or as truth. Do your own research. Make up your own mind. Don't let the media or even others around you influence you. You, at the end of the day, good or bad, you have to make your own decisions about what is relevant versus irrelevant information. And so that is our show. If anyone is watching and they've got good ideas, we would love to hear any great ideas you have. Hit us up. You remember that one? So we are